Hello, ladies and gentlemen, the people on YouTube. This is uh, this is a tough one. I'm gonna be honest, very tough one. As always, you can find this if you search for the voice of Yamato on most podcast applications, the biggest ones at least. This was a crazy series. Full disclosure: I thought JDG would win. My reasoning for it is throughout the year, I think JDG showed a lot of promise. Even though JDG's head coach said that the meta doesn't really fit them, I thought that this meta was almost perfect for them. I see Yagao as a player that plays more for his jungle. Kanavi is someone that has led the charge throughout the year. So I thought, I felt quite the contrary that JDG was indeed set up for this. But of course, the head coach of JDG has a better opinion on what his team is bad at and not than me, of course. Anyhow, JDG didn't have the cleanest group stage. They ended on a strong note and they played against Damwon, but that game didn't matter, so it was hard to take anything away from it. But all in all, I was very disappointed with JDG across the tournament. I think if you look at JDG and the expectations coming into the tournament, it's almost as if I don't want to pinpoint a specific player, but I think if anyone deserves the Daddy Award, it's the entirety of JDG. At the same time, Suning, they deserve a lot of props. I've been saying since day one that they are a dark horse. Like, they have some great individual players. When they're playing at their highest, these are some of the players that can definitely, at some point in their career, become the best players in their position, which is exciting. I think they showcased a lot of that today. I think Suning's preparation was better. I think also what truly, really, really mattered in the end was just mechanical skill. Because this series is very, very hard to summarize because it was brawl after brawl, and it didn't really feel like I was watching these games with Jizuke, and I was trying to take a step back and look at the game state and look at what the teams should play for, what they should look for next. But it felt borderline spontaneous, where everyone's like rallying around, oh, this guy has no flash, let's just keep fighting on him. And then eventually Suning just proved that they are mechanically superior. Like, they were, even in game one, this game that we have on your screen, this game, even though JDG won, this was a game where Suning, honestly, you could say that they threw. They had some natural opportunities that were given away. It was very, very back and forth, and it was super, super wild. I was sitting here and talking with Twitcher for the longest time ever about how we're going to describe these games, but this is one of those series where you can just look at all game highlights. You look it up on YouTube and you will find a lot of joy because it was just a constant brawl. It was just a constant brawl, and I felt like on the day Suning mechanically performed much better. And as I mentioned, the preparation also felt superior. The key picks of this entire best of five was, one of them was Zoe. Zoe is something that I missed in the group stage. I didn't understand why it wasn't played, because once again, it's one of those champions that works in the current meta, because she does indeed have a lot of power 1-5. And 1-5 is so important. And we have a lot of great Zoe players at the World Championship. We think Showmaker, we think BDD, we think Yagao, we think Angel, we think even Knight. Knight? Knight is just good at everything, but he doesn't have like a standout Zoe. Showmaker, Chovy, I think BDD, Yagao, Angel, standout Zoe players. Anyhow, we saw a lot of Zoe today. I think Zoe won every single game, if I remember correctly. This is good because it makes me feel sane again. Because it's like sometimes matchups and, sometimes matchups get figured out within scrims and then it just kind of disappears, and then like the whole region kind of agrees, or the whole tournament agrees upon this idea. So I didn't want to speak too heavily on it, but good to see Zoe back. Zoe definitely, in a skirmish heavy game where there's a lot of summoners being dropped, can definitely do well. And I think Angel and Yagao, both of them are fantastic Zoe players. So that was super, super good. Looking at the first game, let's just jump into it. Suning's strategy was to remove the Ornn, which is good. Zoom is a fantastic Ornn, and JDG really rally around this Ornn pick super well. This is something that they haven't been allowed to play almost at all, so that is positive. Camille was also perma-banned because both sides have a great Camille player, but I believe JDG banned it every single game. Twisted Fate removed. And then here, I thought this was a weakness from Suning, banning Lucian on blue side. Lucian is a very common red side ban. Imagine this situation here, Suning, where they look to, when Nidalee and Lucian is open, they don't ban Lucian. Let's say they ban Graves on 3 and they pick Lucian. Enemy takes Nidalee, you have Lilia for yourself, and you have the Lucian first pick. Or if the enemy ban Lucian on 3, you have the Nidalee first pick, Graves is already out, and you're going to be very happy. I like Nidalee into Lilia because all of the champions that synergize well with Nidalee are good into Lilia. While the jungle matchup in isolation, Lilia has some counterplay, and it isn't completely one-sided. It's just like when you think of a Nidalee, you pick it together with a Set, you pick it together with a Pantheon, you pick it together with all of these juicy champions that have hard CC. Anyhow, we have the Grace first pick, instant response, Renekton, Lilia. And we don't mind this too much because here in this situation, Ornn is out and also Camille is out. So the amount of top laners that are blindable is definitely limited. And Lilia Renekton have some sense of synergy. We appreciate it. We have an AD champion, AP jungle champion, and they both want to be very, very active in the beginning of the game. Here I was surprised Graves Galio Gangplank as the continuation. I like GP into Renekton. It's something that I made Summit pick many, many times. I am a supporter of this particular matchup. I like it for GP. Obviously, GP will be under pressure. Like what happened in this game, it is natural for GP to be under pressure in this game, but the amount of value that GP brings to the team, even if you're 30 CS behind, usually just outperforms Renekton in the game. So I really, really, I'm a big fan of Gangplank. And Ben showed us, everyone in Europe, why he is a fantastic Gangplank. He blew up G2, and in general, I think his lane phase was also very, very good that game against Wunder. Zoe gets picked. Zoe is a good matchup into Galio. I think most matchups are good into Galio. Here you have, the story of the best of 5, and in general, this tournament, I feel like Galio, doesn't bring enough to the table to justify the pick. I think it's too easy to choose the precise champion that is good into the enemy team because there's so many choices of what you can pick into Galio. Galio also has a blind pick. It's just too many options. Because in most 1v1s, Galio loses. And the idea is that Galio has Predator. It's a very good engage tool. And you just press Predator, it has low cooldown, you activate it, you engage with W, and that's it. But I'm not a big fan. Like, Galio can make trades and sacrifice his HP in order to, get his jungle ahead, and there are scenarios where that pans out. But I think the conditions that need to be met are just too difficult to achieve, in my opinion. And from what we've seen so far, most Galio teams tend to struggle. And another key thing about Galio is that now when Camille has found herself in this permaban state, like Camille is always out, the synergies that Galio have with a lot of champions aren't really there. And I think that's how you get maximized value out of Galio. So Galio, sure, can trade HP to get prio, can move on, can play for his jungler. But I feel like as the tournament has progressed and every team is getting better and more precise, I think this is something that has counterplay. I think teams are playing around it. Like Galio won one game in this series, and I think that game was won because of other reasons and not necessarily Galio, because Galio almost turned into a liability in that game. Anyhow, Zoe gets locked in. Zoe fits with the theme of what Lilia and Renekton want to accomplish. Ezreal, Ashe, Caitlyn out, and then Jhin. And Misfortune, I appreciate the Misfortune when it's together with the Lilia, because Misfortune Ultimate, just because it's damage over time, it doesn't break Lilia's sleep, so you can do some very nasty combinations where like it doesn't make sense because you have this woman screaming ah, ha, 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 and she's like firing bullets, and you are fast asleep. So that one is very, very interesting that it works, but it does. So that's a combination that is good. But here in this position, Jhin, Zoe, Lilia, Renekton, I think red side draft, like the only problem is the GP. Like the GP is the beauty of this. But then you have Misfortune Bard. Bard is a strong champion too, into Jhin, into Zoe as well. I like the Bard rotation. If we think of other AD characters that they might be able to pick here, it's tough to make a choice because Ezreal, Ashe, Kate are banned, and then Jhin is here. Like ideally, it would be Ezreal. I think Ezreal would fit this composition the best because it does well into Renekton and Zoe as well, and it's fine into Jhin, and Bard Ezreal is a fine lane. Ezreal's out. Ashe I wouldn't like either. Yeah, Senna wasn't really touched at all in this series, and I don't think it was touched yesterday either. I'm just double checking so I'm not talking out of my arse. Oh, Senna was actually locked in here by DRX. And then Senna was locked in here by DRX. And then Senna was ignored. Okay. So we got picked twice. So I'm talking out of my ass. Maybe Senna would be better here. But I think the idea here is just to pick something that actually can contest Prio against Jhin. I think that's it. There isn't some incredible synergy or any other reason beside it that I can find. I think Misfortune just looked to contest Jhin in the Prio department. Okay. Anyhow, this game started the story of the series. This game was very dirty, back and forth. I was watching it with Jizuke, and we're like paying attention to the game state, we're discussing it. We're like, okay, Renekton is ahead. Maybe they can look for dives top, so we can get Prio. Galio ult is down. We were looking at like all of these pieces that in a lot of cases matter. But as we progressed like throughout the game, there was a lot of like spontaneous fighting almost. It was quite wild. Because I think even in this game, you know, there was a big fight around Dragon. JGG were 2 Drakes up. Suning got the 3rd one, 4th one. It was... I'm trying to find ways to summarize this. But it was mad. It was really, really mad. I just remember in this game, there was 2 specific situations where Suning were very dominant and they were in a position where they could potentially do Nash. And in a world where they didn't commit as hard as they did onto the Drake and maybe rush Nash right away, maybe they would have just won game 1 and they would have 3-0'd JGG. So there was a situation where they fought around Dragon, JGG were looking for 3rd Drake, they had some certain spikes, they were in a decent state, the GP ult was just too powerful, and Suning actually won the fight. It was a very, very beautiful GP ult. I suggest you guys go back and take a look at that. But also JGG and the way they prepared that specific Drake fight that I'm talking about, Zoom was completely out of position. He wasn't involved in the fight, and it almost felt like JGG didn't expect the enemy to contest. But it's ridiculous to have that kind of an expectation. Zoom was looking for the flank, but the fight was already over before it started. And then Suning did the Ocean Drake, and then he walked towards Nash. And the spawn timers were very, very short. Yagao did the smart thing with his spellbook to get his smite. So he took a smite, and then he went towards the pit, and Suning were too scared to coin flip the 50-50, because Suning could maybe go for like a finish, to just go finish Nash. Maybe it would have been like a very decent call, but it just didn't pan out that way. They walked out, and then JGG overextended. I felt like Loken really messed up that fight. As you see, I'm a play-by-play caster, because that's what the game was. It was just constant chaos, very little regard to game state. I think there was a lot of constant fighting. There were scenarios where GP was like catching a sidewave and pushing, and then Suning were just contesting river and getting caught by a Zoe bubble. It was quite ridiculous. And then JDG at one point started Nash. They got fought there, and then they died, and then it was just a complete fiesta. It was really, really down to the bone, a fiesta. There was some beautiful situations where we had individual outplays, individual moments that looked very, very good. And I remember this specific fight at fourth Drake, where SOFM went into the pit. He got the Galio ultimate, they bard ulted on top of him, and they managed to get a double kill. And then the same situation appeared again, where they could pressure the Nasher. Luma was dead, Zoom was dead. And then the tricky thing for Suning was, instead of just doing Nash at this point, now 27 minutes in, they just did a split call where they went for Zoe flashed out, and then they were out of position. Zoe comboed with the Proto Billet, and JG managed to defend the Nasher that Suning completely had under control. It was so strange, you know, from a point of view of trying to make analysis of this game. You know, I was watching it with Jizuki, so Jizuki loves this. Jizuki loves this type of game where it's just skill check after skill check after skill check that is forced by both sides. And it feels like it's just, they don't regard the state of the game. It is just, everyone's rolling with the punches. It is as if, you know, you have two knockout artists. Like, let's say you had Deontay Wilder fighting against a Mike Tyson. Well, to be fair, Mike Tyson was... No, that's not a comparison that I'm going to get a lot of angry boxing fans. Deontay Wilder versus Deontay Wilder. Let's have two Deontay Wilders, and they're just trying to swing at each other and knock each other out. But one Deontay Wilder had a better draft and was performing better mechanically on the day. Yeah, this analogy is completely out. It is scuffed. It is very, very scuffed. Suning had a Nash situation. Yagao saved it with his Zoe. Was beautiful. He flashed out, and then off of that, JGG got Nash. And then eventually we had a situation where they got Soul. That Soul fight honestly just kind of decided the game in the end. It just kind of put the enemy team in the coffin. There were some decisions that JGG also did in this game where, like, Kanavi was cancelling bases in the mid lane, and JGG were pushing through top side, and then they got an inhib, just trying to piece it together. I am all over the place. I knew this summary would be difficult. I knew it. So forgive me. Forgive me for the chaos. Really, really forgive me for the chaos. It's a mad game. A really, really mad game. And I think if anything, the first game showcased what a Zoe could really do. I think Yagao really, really smurfed. Yagao really, really smurfed on Zoe. So I thought right after this game, boom, Zoe's going to be super, super high prio. And let's just see who is able to capitalize and recognize it. This game was 40 minutes long, something like that. Zoom got the Ocean Drake, and then he was playing Renekton, and he was just unkillable. He did a very, very nice play at the final Drake fight where he was kind of 1v3ing, and just with Ocean Drake, he was just unkillable. A lot of people asking me, like, Zoom, is he deserving of the Dade Award? Well, I think Zoom played quite well, honestly. Two people in the same roles can play good. Like, Bin played good and Zoom played good. I think Zoom was one of the better performers on JDG. I just think that, that Volibear pick he did later on was a bit of a bad one. I think we are ready to move on to the next game, right? I think I've tried to talk about this enough. Let's just give Yagao the MVP of this one. The Zoe delivered, and that's it. This game. So this game, Suning switched up gears. Let me just make sure that it shows on stream. That this is not the one. This is the one. Boom. Okay. Suning continued in the same fashion. First pick Graves, but they took away Zoe and Jin. So they were like, legit. These are the two champions that caused us the most amount of problem in the last game. Let's just take him away. Loken is known for his Jhin, and Yagao is known for his Zoe. So it's not completely outlandish to draw such a conclusion after. Let me just take a sip of my juice. It's not completely outlandish to make such a decision. But here is where JGG, I felt, made a very similar mistake to what Suning did. So I really don't like the Galio. Picking Galio into the Zoe. Zoe is favored here, and I'm not a fan. I thought here maybe they were going to go Bard third pick. I thought maybe give some freedom to yourself, but Yagao doesn't have the biggest champion pool. And this is something that people were worried about. Yagao's champion pool and him being a weakness as a mid laner, this is something that a lot of people coming into the tournament addressed. Here, Bard into these three champions would have been powerful. You just think about Grave, Zoe, Jhin. They are very weak against the same things. Anyhow, Galio gets locked in. Sure, same explanation as before. Can make some sacrifices to get Lily ahead. If that doesn't work, you're going to be in trouble. Cannon is banned. Not sure why Cannon was banned. Like, sure, it's decent into Renekton and AD jungle. Okay, I think that's a fair assessment. I just didn't like the idea of giving GP again. You banned Tom. I didn't like it either. You're fifth picking support, so there is no reason to ban Tom here. Is the enemy going to blind pick Tom? Maybe. You know, it's decent against Renek, decent against Galio, but we haven't seen a lot of that in this tournament, so I don't think it's something that should be a big focus, especially when Suning are already missing a tank. So it's kind of weird to me. Bard gets banned, Misfortune gets fourth picked. Here we have the Lilia Misfortune combo that we spoke about, doesn't wake anybody up. Leona GP. I think Tom should have been just GP ban if you want to remove the cannon. The only reason I said the cannon ban is weird is because at this point, maybe GP ban makes a lot of sense. Playing Misfortune against GP is weird, and Bin has had a lot of success on this champion. But once again, JGG won the first game. Renekton was ahead, so they were like, fuck it, let's just continue down the same line, which is reasonable, which is completely reasonable. So let me try to find a way of describing this game. I remember it started off super well because Zoe actually found Set, got first blood, and then there was this huge fight where JGG ended up being ahead together with the Galio ultimate, which was, of course, beneficial for them. They managed to pick up a double kill. It was 2-2 the scoreline, and I'm working here. My mind is going 200 miles an hour. I think the situation was that JGG actually had the Rift Herald. They forced on top tower, and Suning found this miraculous team fight. You know, I thought when I was watching it, an absolute beauty of a situation. I thought, wow, okay, JDG is ahead, they're snowballing the Renekton. But in all honesty, what happened was Suning went for a collapse. They found a great Leona ultimate. The Gangplank ultimate also landed on the enemy's head. And then Suning's composition, if they're ahead against all of these champions that require to snowball, like if you're looking at the Galio, you're looking at the Lilia, Renekton. Like Lilia sure can find some moments of brilliance in any type of game. But Renekton, Galio, Misfortune, Set, these are champions that need to have a lot of good activity going on for themselves. If they fall behind, they're not going to bring you back into the game against the champions that are on the blue side. Graves is going to have a lot of value against Galio and Renekton. Graves is scaling wonderful here. Same thing for Zoe. All of her targets are quite juicy. Gangplank goes without saying. Gangplank is great as the time goes on and ticks in the game. So anything that is slightly in Suning's favor is going to be super, super beneficial. And if I try to find some kind of a red thread throughout this series was that, you know, as the fights went back and forth, the better composition and the players that executed better were winning out in the end. Let's say they were winning 60% of the engagements at some point, and that was good enough for them to win out the complete series. I'm realizing that this summary sounds absolutely ridiculous. Jesus. Anyhow, the continuation of the game. There was this huge Rift Herald fight that that occurred. That it started off with JDG killing off Sword Art, and I thought this is fine. This is good. This is a very good situation with JDG. They won the situation. This was around like 15-minute mark, second Rift Herald. And then Suning somehow turned it around. Like Suning were finding magic in these team fights, whether it was with Huanfeng's Jin or it was Bin's GP. Like GP was finding huge barrels, very impressive to do it. Like 50 minutes into the game on second Rift Herald, I remember I was so astonished because doing it with a gangplank that is not level 13 is so difficult. Like level 13 is a very key breakpoint for GP because this is where all combos become super easy because the timing of the barrels and goes down, like the way that the HP ticks down is very, very easy to play around because you can tie it into like distance very easily to know when you should Q and so forth. Nevertheless, he managed to pull it off, huge barrel onto 3 people, and then SOFM just comes in with the Graves and Jin and just kills the enemy team off. Boom, 4k gold ahead. They just aced the enemy team, and then the game was just finished because draft gap. Honestly, it wasn't the cleanest finish to a game. JGG fought back a little bit, but then the chickens came home to roost. I don't know how you say it. My goodness. Yes. Brawls into Suning, just piecing it together. I want to make it clear that I don't want to take anything away from Suning because some of the things that they did were so mechanically stunning that I was time and time again impressed. Watching a game, I have 2 modes when I watch a game. I watch a game for entertainment or I watch a game for the sake of, learning and looking at the situation. And this game always dragged me into the place of wanting it to watch it for the sake of the entertainment. And I also don't want to come across as if there was absolutely no sense behind this game because like even in the fight that the JDG lost, on paper it makes sense for them to force any type of team fights. But Suning just pieced it together so beautifully with the GP battles and the SOFM playing around his dash and so forth. And they really, really played to the limits of their champions. Game number 3 was a hilarious one because me and Jizuki actually reviewed it. We reacted to it. This game was over level 1. As depressing as that might sound, it really was. JDG. So basically what happened, let me paint you guys the pictures. SOFM rushed out of base and just warded the mid bush. And JDG, they were looking to invade. They had Twisted Fate, they had Lilia, they had Pantheon, Ezreal. Their level 1 is fantastic. Really, really good. One of the best level 1s ever. And the problem was that, let's say level 1 is like you're robbing a bank. Okay, you're robbing a bank. This is a stick up. But as you're planning to rob the bank, you look at the time. You have a meeting time set with the other robbers. You're standing outside of the bank. Okay, we're just gonna chill here and wait. You even have the mask pulled down. Like you have the mask all the way pulled down. You're just standing outside of the bank, and and then you finally your homies arrive. You're like, okay, they're on time now. Okay, let's move in. And then it's like the bank has fucking glass doors because SOFM put the word down. It has glass doors, and the security is like, what are these dumbasses doing? And and then like GP skilled barrel level 1, Galio skilled W level 1. He just channeled his taunt. And then the worst thing possible happened for JGG. It was an absolute disaster what happened. GP got a double kill. So he had the 400 gold from the first blood, and he had the 300 Gs from the second kill. And he started Sapphire Crystal. So what does that mean? Piece it together, put 1 and 1 together. He had a Sheen. He had a Sheen from level 1. My goodness, man had a Sheen against the Volibear. Of course, if you play against the Gangplank from level 1, when you have, you know, a Sheen from level 1, you're not going to be able to contest the lane at all. It was an absolute disaster. It was a disaster. So now we spoke about the level 1. Talking about the draft, I really liked the Ezreal. I thought the Ezreal was good. I didn't like the Volibear because we know, we've been talking about this on this channel a lot, the theme of Kindred and what you want to pick into the Kindred is ranged champions. So when I saw the Jax ban, I was like, no, why? What was this Jax ban for? I think here you're looking to make sure that you either have Cannon top or you have, what's it called? Not the next, like a Jace. You have a Jace top. You just want to pick champions that are ranged. Or you pick the GP yourself. Just pick the GP yourself, man. God bless you. Ban champions like Irelia. Ban maybe Wukong. And then boom, just lock in the Jace. I guess the problem with Jace now, as I'm saying it, I realize that there's a lot of champions that are good into Jace. That's the tricky part. Like Ornn is banned, Volibear is fine into Jace. It's like a 50-50 matchup. If something slightly goes wrong for Jace, he's just completely annihilated. Irelia, Ben would pick Irelia into Jace. That's something that's dangerous too. What was the other one that I said? Wukong. Wukong can be fine against Jace, but I guess that would be the most playable matchup. You just ban Volibear, and then you ban maybe the freaking Irelia, and then you look for a Jace. Keep in mind, GDG is of course a blue side, so the Jace can be picked away, but I would be fine to be in that situation. It's just that you want to look to pick as many ranged champions as possible, and I think Volibear and Pantheon are two easy targets for Galio and Kindred to fight. Because even though I'm talking about the level 1 and how problematic it was, it kind of shut down JDG's early game completely. Something that Yagao did good in this game, I know a lot of people are clowning on his Twisted Fate, and I understand why you would, is just he farmed side lane super well. You can take a look at this game and you will see that Twisted Fate is many levels ahead of Angel, and he managed to complete some items, and Ezreal was very relevant in this game. But I felt like the comeback was almost impossible because of the dead weight of Volibear and Pantheon in this game. I don't like it when you expose you have Twisted Fate, Lilia, Ezreal, and then you're supposed to pick 4-5 to really tie your composition together. And the problem is you're locked in Volibear for the sole purpose of having something to play through the early game with Lilia and Twisted Fate, and that was completely shut down by GP. GP and his Sheen. Should I say GP or should I say Sheen? Charlie Sheen. Completely shut down any potential in the early game. Yagao got, I think, level 2 gank in this game. He didn't have a flash. Was forced to TP back into lane. Galio had a TP advantage, and it was just a brutal game. And then finally, when JGG managed to have some breathing room in this game because Suning didn't really execute perfectly, I remember the specific moment around like 20-minute mark where Sword Art just TP, just put a portal down mid lane right before the next, like the Cloud Soul would spawn because they were on 3 Drakes. And what happened was like they just all died. Like Ezreal got so many kills and it was quite a disaster. It was really terrible. Like Sword Art inted super much in this game, and they gave honestly, they gave JDG a fighting chance in this one. So Ezreal, I believe, got an ace, and he had the red buff and the 2-core with the Iceborne Gauntlet and the Mana Mune. Of course, this would be the strongest point in the game for Ezreal, and if Suning get over that hurdle, everything would be good. This was at a point where they were 7,000 gold ahead, and this just gave them so much breathing room, JDG started Nash. They managed to get the Nasher, and that really delayed the game. If that didn't happen, I thought it was already done, because that was the state of the game. And then Ezreal got ahead, but Ezreal and Twisted Fate couldn't deliver when it mattered the most. I think the enemy team just had too much gold. They managed to get the Cloud Soul because, of course, as I mentioned, JDG went for Nash instead of the Cloud. To be fair, though, if you look at the red side draft, Cloud Soul isn't super hype. Like maybe like Cloud Soul on Jhin is probably one of the most useless things ever. It's very nuts. It's yeah, Jhin with his move speed is completely pointless. So key takeaways: huge level 1. Sword Art was having a little bit too much fun with his Bard portals, because it gave JDG a fighting chance. Final game. Let's take a look at the final game. Suning. This draft, Suning just continued down the same line. JDG on blue side, they banned Camille, GP Syndra, and then they first picked Graves. Zoe Jhin, and then they went for Twisted Fate into Zoe, but then Renekton Graves, I really don't like it too much together. I thought we were going to see a mall fight this game. Anyhow, Zoe Jhin Kindred. Kindred already has a decent target to play against in the shape of Renekton and Graves, and the matchup is completely playable, as we've seen. It is all about what champions Kindred plays into. Like, if you want to learn how to beat a Kindred, you just watch Damon play against Pure-Shik Kindred. This game, honestly, it started off quite good, because in this game, Bin made kind of a silly mistake. So Bin, playing as Renekton, he has prior into Renekton early if he gets to auto-attack the wave. And then something that you can do with Renekton is, with Volibear, is that you can push in the cannon wave base, and then you'll be on time for the crab. You can go through the lane, straight to crab with your jungle, and you can be a 315 around that area in order to contest it. But what Bin did was that he walked past the tower, he took 2 turret shots to freeze the wave, warded, based, TP'd back, and he had no potions. He had 2 cloth armors. And the problem was that Renekton was allowed to stack his rage. He was allowed to stack his rage, and he was allowed to build a wave. He had level 5, and even though Bin had an item advantage, he just wasn't strong enough, because that's the nature of the matchup. Whoever gets to auto-attack the wave and stack rage or stack passive is going to be stronger. If Bin has grasp ready and he has his passive ready, he wins. If Renekton has full rage, he is going to win. And what this led to for Bin, because he burned TP already, and Renekton was allowed to control the wave, is that Zoom, with this small advantage, was allowed to control the wave in a way where Bin got dove, he was level 5, no TP back, and this put JDG in a very dominant position in the game. But that's the thing, the story of the series was that no matter what the game state is, it was hard to predict what the teams are going to play for next, unless it was an objective. You can point to an objective and probably there will be a fight there. Anyhow, JDG was about 3k gold ahead. The continuation was, you run into this problem where when the enemy team is going to start building cleanses and so forth, your composition is going to be very weak. Mercury is very powerful. Any type of CC chain that you can shut down, that TF and Ashe want to set up, these are moments where Blitzcrank is going to lose a lot of value. Like, Blitz is fine in isolation against Thresh and Jhin and Kindred and Zoe too, but of course, we mentioned already that Suning have performed mechanically better, and Blitzcrank is a mechanical skill check champion. Blitzcrank is strong when you can have some CC to align it, but the moment the Mercuries and the QSSs came in, there was no turning back. No turning back at all. I think at one point Suning was 5k goal behind, but Suning managed to piece it together. I really don't like Twisted Fate and Ashe together. I really don't like it. Like, the enemy AD carry already has enough reasons to go cleanse, and especially when you go Essence 3 for Ashe, I feel like Twisted Fate and Ashe fill a very similar role in most team compositions, is that they set someone else up for success. They provide the utility for your team. Twisted Fate with the cars, Ashe with the slows and the arrows. Sure, these two champions do have damage, but I feel like they get counted by the same thing. There was this big fight around Drake where Yagao flashcards a target that has Quicksilver Sash, which was very silly. It put JGG in a horrible position. Lumao actually hooked the Volibear in, and Volibear in this game went for a full tank build. He went for the Bramble Vest, and the Sunfire came naturally because he was behind, and on top of that, he's into Renekton. It's good to itemize a lot of armor into this composition that JDG have on the left side. A lot of physical damage. Twisted Fate as the sole AP carry is not going to do so well. During all of these movements where JGG were pressuring into topside, diving topside, and snowballing through Renekton, Suning did in fact manage to get Triple Dragon. And this fight that I'm describing, where Yao flashes forward and throws a card on a Kindred that has QSS, this was on the third Drake. So this definitely spelled doom for JGG's composition, because after these items begin to land, what are you really trying to achieve with these champions? These champions fall off. Ashe, Twisted Fate, Graves, Renekton against the enemy team comp. It just didn't work. Angel on Zoe performed beautifully. He did super well. And of course, Huan Feng's Jhin. These are two champions. I know a lot of people are asking, why aren't they banned? Why are they open? Well, in the mind of JGG and in the mind of a lot of pro teams, Jhin and Zoe, before this best of 5 was played, no one really cared about them. They were just supplementary picks that some players picked and some players didn't. So to point it to these champions as the issue, I think is a bit unfair. It's not like Angel is a Zoe one-trick. No, Zoe one-trick is going to dominate the field. It only is Zoe. Zoe's going to be part of that. No, it really isn't that way. Same thing for Huan Feng. He's not a Jhin one-trick or anything. I think they were just mechanically performing better. And I think the beauty of this for, of course, Suning was that by picking Zoe and Jhin, I think they denied JDG's biggest comfort champions. I think that was the genius move. And if you put JDG in your own mind and you begin to ban these champions, your biggest comfort champions, then you'll begin to crumble. I think Suning showed greater depth, better mechanical play, and better preparation. This was so important. I'm trying to show my fingers, but I realize it's behind the thing. And that's how I would, in the end, summarize the series. This was my best attempt. Quite wild. Forgive me for the chaos. Really forgive me for the chaos. I had some thoughts in my mind and I just threw them into the microphone. So really forgive me. The best way, to watch this in the end is just watch these games. Really watch these games. Rarely do I tell you guys to watch these games, but it was very bloody. A lot of beautiful moments from Bin, a lot of beautiful moments from Sword Art with the Bard ultimates, a lot of great moments from Angel. I think they really cemented the idea that they are truly the dark horse of this tournament. This is, such a high level of mechanical skill that they showcased here. I'm super excited for them. JGG really dropped the ball. I think JDG really dropped the ball. I think Suning deserved the victory 100%. Execution was top notch, but I had high expectations of JDG. I don't mind admitting at all that, that I was wrong in terms of my prediction. I can give myself a little golden star in the bottom for calling out Suning for a dark horse, but to be fair, you can bet money on every team, and then you can feel good about yourself because you're going to get something right. So I predicted JDG. I'll take it on the chin. My pick'em is dead. Nevertheless, that leads us into the series that we have tomorrow. Everyone, you had this, like when I started off the stream, a lot of people were saying, yo, look, G2 took a game off Suning. Look at that, man. Whoa. Well, I was of the opinion that Suning annihilated G2 in 3 games. I understand for some are going to say that, hey, it was close. I get that. But in the aspects of the game that are truly difficult and aspects of the game that are solvable, fixing your late game, your late game decision making when you have Nash and you have Soul Point and you're tanking gold ahead, that's not tricky. That's not difficult. But solving your entire early game, fixing your entire early game, now that is quite a lot of work. You need to hire a contractor, you need to get some materials, you need to rip up the floor, you need to start over. It's quite the work that you have ahead of yourself. G2 in that game against the game 3, where Bin got the monster flank, that position, when it got to that point, I believe it was winning. Like Senna almost had 200 stanks. I understand that position was winning. I understand G2 also won the first game that they played, but the path to there, I think Suning showcased a way higher level of skill. And G2, if they managed to win that tiebreaker, it would be a steal. That's it, It would just be a steal. Because I think Suning performed better, The aspects that I know are going to be transferable between games, Suning performed better. Their early game was better, their cooperation was better, and their idea around draft was better. But G2 managed to snag victories. This is the nature of best of ones in the end, right? So Suning winning against JDG, I don't think it directly increases the G2 stock. So I'm sorry to say that to you guys. I know a lot of G2 fans, hey, look at that. Suning is better than G2. I mean, G2 is better than Suning, and Suning beat JDG, which means JDG beat Damwon, and then G2 is going to beat Damwon after beating Genji and being in the finals against Suning, and they beat Suning already. There's some serious gymnastics going on. And I don't think these have some correlation. I think JDG underperformed, and then Suning's story of growth continues. Suning, throughout summer, grew, got better, got shut down by top Esports 3-0, slapped down. And we didn't have information on the JDG versus Suning matchup. Anyhow, top Esports versus Fnatic. Some people coming into the videos looking for hope. But sorry, I don't have hope to give. Upsets can happen, right? Upsets can happen. But that's what it would be. Like if Fnatic wins this best of 5, it would be, a massive, massive upset. Because Fnatic have showed a lot of their cards on how they want to play. Maybe they can find something new, Maybe they can find something new in terms of, preparation. But I think there are some specific bans that you can send towards, of course, Fnatic. And I think that is going to put Fnatic on the ropes already. I think Hylissang can be the difference maker because I think Hylissang is better than Yuyanja. I think Bwipo can hold strong. I think Reckless has a mountain to climb here in the form of Jakilov. I think it would be the same case for any AD at this tournament, maybe barring Ruler. It is going to be hard for Fnatic. Very hard. But something that we've seen from LPL teams is that they are fast and loose and they shoot from the hip. And Fnatic can play ball. They can definitely play ball. I think Fnatic is a tricky team to beat. but Top Esports is definitely very, very dangerous in this tournament. I see them as tournament favorite. I see them potentially beating Damwon, but let's see as the tournament progresses. I think 3-1 Top Esports, maybe 3-0. I doubt Fnatic is going to squeeze more. If we see game one, boom, Top Esports blue side, they ban Orianna, first pick Lucian, and already from that position is going to be rough. Like I said, they ban Orianna Graves. They know the enemy is not going to pick Nidalee, right? They know the enemy is not going to pick Nidalee. We know that Fnatic is most likely not going to pick Lilia either. And all of a sudden, you know, Fnatic is going to have a hard time. They get away with picking Hecarim and so forth, but there's a reason, I think, why the LPL teams don't play Hecarim and the LCK teams don't play Hecarim. The key difference between Hecarim and the other farm junglers is that the other farm junglers are actually strong early game. If you think of what Hecarim struggles against, I think Graves is really good into Hecarim, Nidalee good into Hecarim, I think Lilia is good into Hecarim, and Hecarim requires a lot of levels and maybe a couple of kills to really activate because his items are very expensive. So I think, you know, Hecarim needs a lot of conditions to work. I think self-made is fantastic, but I don't know how deep Fnatic can go here in terms of using the strengths that they have. Maybe Hylissang, I think if they grab a game, I think Hylissang is going to be the differential where he claps back against Yudancha. But Jackie Love is looking massive. I think Knight versus Nemesis is also a monster matchup. And Whippo is definitely going to have a test against the 369. But Whippo has performed super well at this tournament. Like, this meta is perfect for Whippo. Everyone talks about self-made meta, but this meta for Whippo, my man. He's been playing Ornn. He loves that Volibear. He was smacking people super hard on the top side with Volibear. He itemizes beautifully on this champion. I think he's just, you know, this meta is great for him. Same thing for Hylissang. This meta is great for him. And that in itself is super cool as well. Something that requires, you know, some highlights. Anyhow, I think that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I'm apologizing once again for the chaos. This was chaotic, but so was the game. So maybe it was justified. People in the Twitch chat, do you have any questions, any final words? Was that okay? Do I get the seal of approval for you guys, from you guys? Yeah, Whippo GP, that's a good shout. Whippo GP. Whippo GP, yeah. Perfect meta, man. Perfect meta for a boy, Whippo. We love you. I love you is my question. G2 gonna smash. I'm on the desk. Will you marry me? No. SFM best jungler in tournament? Honestly, yeah. Could be the case. Could be the case. SFM really did things that I've never seen a jungler ever do before. That's mental. Can Fnatic get away with an Evelynn against top? Well, I think if they have Lucian, yes, but I don't think they're going to ever get their hands on Lucian. Maybe the plan from Top Esports is going to be Lucian ban, Orianna ban, Graves ban. And then maybe Fnatic is just, you know, they need to activate Y with Hylissang. And then maybe they're going to be okay. Can Nemesis play Jace mid? Press X to doubt. Maybe he's gonna play, what's the tentacle lady? The LS invention. Maybe some Ilaoi mid. Can Suning keep up with top in team fights? Yeah. Now that's gonna be a mental matchup, man. Suning versus Top Esports. Because regardless of the outcome, holy. Okay. Thank you so much for watching. If you sneeze during this video, bless you and bless your face. Can you say hello to my friend Vizen? He is a fan who watches from YouTube. Hello, Vizen. You better eat your damn vegetables. Bless your face.